Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Be More My name is Tachi. In fact, no, let me rewind that. This is Beach More because as you can see, today I am at the beach. I wanted to bring all the sun and sand to you, so I hope that you are enjoying. Okay, so let's talk a little bit.
Close the doors, walk across the corridor. We got something to show you. Media is our repertoire.
Remember last time on Be More Moment, we talked about how to get guests for your podcast, your live stream, your videos, and we went through a list of 4 things. If you missed it, go back and watch it because it's I gave some little gems, some little nuggets, and hopefully you could look in the comments and some other people have some things to say as well. So it's peer learning here. Okay, so one of this Be More actually comes out of a question that Beverly asked, which thank you, Beverly, for the question. I'll pop it up on the screen if I can. So one question that she asked was, how should you give guests questions ahead of time? This is an excellent question. And that my answer to that is it depends. If you have someone who is not used to being a guest, who has not been a guest on a podcast or a show before, and you can sense that they're going to be a little nervous and you're not quite sure how they're going to answer because of the nervousness, then I think it's okay to go ahead and give them some questions. Now, you don't have to give them every single question, but let them know here are some of the things that I'm going to be asking, and there could be follow-up questions and things that come up in conversation. So, make sure that they are comfortable with that. That's if you have a guest that you think is not going to be very comfortable, right? As a general rule, however, I tend not to give my guests questions ahead of time. What I do tell them is what we're going to talk about because they will ask what we're going to talk about. So I'll tell them the things we're going to talk about and I'll say the questions will come from these areas, but it's a conversation with me, so I could get questions from something you said as well. And on top of that, I tend to select guests who I've already vetted, who are already very comfortable with being on camera, because I do mine on camera, already very comfortable with being on camera. When I do my podcast, I get people who are very comfortable with being interviewed on audio. So I've already done the work to make sure they are comfortable, right? So 2 things. It depends, or 3 things. It depends because if they're not comfortable and you sense they're not going to be comfortable, go ahead and give them some questions, but also leave room to ask other follow-up questions, because what you don't want is to have a stale, stagnant interview because of that. The other thing with that is that when you do ask those types of questions that you've given them ahead of time, they're already prepared, and prepared in a bad way, meaning that the answers can sound canned and static and stodgy and inauthentic because it sounds rehearsed. You want people to be prepared, but you don't want them to sound rehearsed like it's, okay, well, that answer was planned. That makes for a very inauthentic and boring interview, right? So, or conversation, I should say, because it's more than an interview. You all are having conversation, and the best quote interviews are conversations, okay? So that's one thing. I'll go back and summarize this for you all to make it make sense. And then the second thing is look for guests who already have a fair amount of experience or are comfortable on camera doing an audio interview, any of those types of things. Any place where they're going to be heard or seen, make sure that they are fairly comfortable with that, because that's just going to make for a better interview. You have to do more work when you don't select somebody who has prior experience with that. Okay, so let's go back and summarize. What do we do? 1, make sure that if you give a question, if somebody is coming on and they're not going to be comfortable, you can give some questions to them, but leave the door open to ask others and let them know that you're going to ask some other questions in this general area. 2, you don't have to give the questions to guests as long as you know they're going to be fairly comfortable. And even if you sense they're not going to be, they're not as comfortable. You can still give them the general areas you're going to talk about, but it's better to do that when you know the guest is going to be fairly comfortable, right? 3, select guests that you know are going to be comfortable. That's the only thing. And that doesn't mean, because let's think about it here. You could select a doctor because you're doing a medical professional, not just a doctor, but a nurse practitioner, a doctor, a physical therapist, anybody that's a medical professional, because you want to talk about topic X that has to do with medicine. But they're a great doctor, they're a great physical therapist, but they're a horrible interview or interviewee, right? That doesn't do any good, because all we're focused on is how terrible this person is at interviewing. So again, there are things that they can do to work with that. And in another Be More, or I'll talk about that, how to give good guests. We'll talk about that. But yeah, so that's what I wanted to talk about. Oh, wait. So, no, I'll make that another Be More. So it will be a continuation of this, so this one isn't super long. All right, so let me know in the comments if this was helpful. Let me know in the comments if you have any thoughts about whether or not to give guests questions ahead of time. As a general rule, I do not give the exact questions ahead of time. I'm a journalist. I'm the type of journalist that does not do that. But if you do, that's okay. I think you just have to gauge the situation. So let me know what you do in the comments, and I will see you next time. Enjoy the beach. Cheers.